Okay, so we're going to go to our scouting pool first. Bearing in mind everything that we have just been thinking about, talking about, learning. So right now, I think we're just going to sort by positions because it's going to make things a bit easier in regards to, because we know what we know what we need now from each position. So as far as keepers are concerned, I think this guy, maybe we get this guy because he's better than our current keeper. I can do the comparison, but for sure he is. There is a question that he's not. He is expensive for us, and a little bit old, but a little bit expensive and a little bit old and a little bit too high a wage, and maybe that's all okay. So thinking about our problems, with the keeper in particular, we do want the high shot stopping. That's for sure. We give up a lot of long shots, in particular, and from not necessarily great angles. Like, we intentionally give that up, basically. So we definitely don't want a keeper that's gonna not save those and fumble it through. Now, obviously, the handling would ideally be a bit better, but we're not going to get it. The thing is, you're never going to get everything from keeper. The thing is, it's not crazy low. The shot stopping is really good. The parrying, at least if he doesn't catch it and he deflects it, it's likely to at least deflect it to a good spot. And plus, the agility is decent enough that he should be able to recover in time. In the case of a long shot, in the closest shorter range stuff, it's okay. It's not bad. It's okay. The durability, good, especially if he needs to make volume of saves in a match. You should be able to leave him out there. That's good for us. It means we, happy with that one. The speed is good, and that probably matters for us a little bit more than average, just because we can be a little bit exposed defensively, and just because we don't have fullbacks and things like that. Like, I feel like when things break down, that having a keeper that can move a bit faster to intercept the ball or something is a good thing for us. I think the aerial ability is good. We're having a problem with set pieces, so I think the stuff related to trying to defend, not to sort of help with the set pieces, is good. So I think the aerial ability is good. I think the command of area, it's alright. It's 55. It's decent. It's not low. That's the thing. And the organization 59, that's quite good as well. It's not low. Probably these is definitely a big upgrade on our current keeper as far as trying to help with set pieces. What's it bad at? I mean, bad shot positioning. Mostly it's if it's longer range shots. If he's a bit out of position, it's not good to be. But I think as far as it's worse when it's the closer it is, because the how do you say, the longer the range are the shots that you're giving up, to some degree the less, the positioning matters regardless, but to some degree it matters less just because they have more scope to be able to recover. And I suppose in that regard the extra bit of speed helps a little bit. With that, that if they are caught out, if they're in the wrong position, that they can run somewhere else faster to recover just a bit. At the end of the day, it is a weakness, but I think of all the weaknesses, it's one that I'm willing to be alright with here, and the not particularly great handling as well. But I think compared to our current keeper, for example, the command of area is just bad. The organization's alright, and the aerial ability's alright, but the other guy I think has higher in all of these, particularly the command of area is way higher. So it will definitely be a material and significant upgrade in regards to defending against set pieces. And then I think in regards to everything else, it's just basically this is just lower across the board for everything, I think. Some a lot, some a bit, but I think it's just straight up everything's worse. Maybe not the shot stopping. what was it, 74 for our current keeper, and this guy's okay. So this is one high. So yeah, I think we probably are just buying this guy. I don't know if I should rush and buy him straight away, or if I'll check the other players in case we'll check the others. We're going to buy this guy though, and the only reason why we won't is because we won't have enough money because we want other players more. But let's just quickly go through. Just not too much. We're not playing fullbacks. I think we're going to roll with this. Decided if we were, we may get this guy, but whatever, we're not. We do need a centre halves of very particular abilities, and we're unlikely to get those if they're youth. So let's just scroll through. These just are not, any of them are going to cut it. For now, I think for our youth team, I'm not going to develop the tactic too much. Over time, we'll want it to be the same as the senior one. But it's just going to be too tall in order to... I think it's just going to be so much effort it's going to be easier to do that through trialists, pretty much. So for now, we'll just... If we happen to see a youth player we like the look of, we'll maybe sign him. But otherwise, we're not looking for anything specific. Now, this player could be a consideration for the one where we're saying they don't need to tackle that much. We just want them to have good positioning. We want them to be fast. We want them to be good in the air and good at marking. So not as good as marking as we would hope, not as good as tackling as we would hope, but otherwise the type of player we want. And we would probably buy them if they weren't 31, if they were younger. But I think we probably can get a similar type of player that is younger at some point. So I think we'll do that. Might be different if they had higher tackling and marking, but they don't. So just not good enough for our senior team. Not using fullbacks. Not using wingback. This guy's really interesting. So why I say that is because I think our current DMC has better passing, lower vision. I think our current DMC is about 70-something passing, 60-something vision. I don't think our current DMC has worse tackling. But he's also like 65 speed or something. More than 49 anyway. Let's have a look how right I am. So 70-something passing. I know, only 30-something vision. But yeah, was right on the tackling. He is 66 speed. So he's quite a different type of player. 41 aerial ability. He's also 27. This other guy was 29. Wrong list. Scouted players. I just say this from the perspective that it's like... we have the destroyer role. We have to bear that in mind. So we definitely want them to be able to win tackles, but and be able to pass okay. So I think in regards to like probably overall, like this very similar. Like the other guy had higher passing, but much lower vision. Would have to pay a bit more attention. But I think on the whole, because we've got we've constructed so many sort of like. Triangles that there's a lot of options out there for our players always. So the vision is probably very, very, very helpful, basically. So I'll probably be a bit more comfortable with this guy having like 64, 75 in regards to the overall passing for our team than the other guy having 70 whatever passing but only 30 something vision. Plus this guy's got more tackling. If he ends up dribbling with the ball, he's got higher dribbling and higher strength, so that's good. He's much slower. Kind of a bit of a deal when you want him to chase players down and tackle them. But the other thing that's standing out to me a bit is this 84 aerial ability, because he, does attempt a few headers or whatever, but not so much for that. The main reason is set pieces, pretty much, because we are weak on set pieces. So to have this guy would be like a proper scoring threat on set pieces, and he would also help us defend them, basically. So I think he could help a lot with our set pieces stability. Plus he's arguably even an upgrade for what we need from our destroyer, in that he can tackle more and he can distribute better probably, And if he ends up needing to dally on the ball, dribbling with a few touches, like that's okay. He is slower, but I think that is a trade-off that's all right, basically. It's a net gain basically with those other benefits, I believe. Having said that, he's 29. Like, if he was younger, we would definitely get him. So basically, straight away, we need to look at these options in 4 days. So straight away, he's 4 slower. Worse at passing. The vision will go up, positioning up, flare down, and so natural fit. Yes, but straight away he's even slower, down to 45, and he's getting worse. So I think we probably won't get him. Just because he's 29, but if he was 27, let's say, with this exact same attributes, we probably would get him right now. But I think in particular, you do need to keep an eye out for this because we're so weak on set pieces, and we need to do something to remedy that. And one of the things that, irrespective of everything else, we can get this keeper that helps a bit, or we could look for another keeper that's got high on that stuff. But even if we can sort of help with defending them, like, we still want to be a threat to score from them. So we still, whatever we do here, having a couple of high aerial ability players, we need them somewhere. It's not good to just not be a threat at all to ever score off a set piece. You want those free goals pretty much. They can help quite a bit, a few of those over the course of the season. So the next player we're looking at here, we could get him, but thing is, it's just not as good as one we're using, and I quite like. Yeah, I'm not sure. For the age or whatever, maybe it's okay, but I don't know. With just at this point that we're not really looking to. He has got a contract extension. I was going to say, so one of the issues with this is that, like, by the time we get into a point where he may be decent, like good for us, we'll have to start using contract extensions. So the fact that he has one here is a factor. Maybe we get him. Not entirely sold. That's the thing. What we really want is there is differences here. So one, like, we just really want like crazy high tackling. The thing is, you can get an academy trial graduate DMC that starts with 60 tackling. So by the time they're 21, it could already potentially be like 80, and that's the type of value that we want. And so I don't think we'll get him just because he's not a ready-made product. And I think if we're going to build a product, so to speak, if we're going to develop a player, I think we'd rather be grabbing just focusing that, like, getting a younger one kind of thing. And also, there's no point if we want to build the same tactic for the youth team, there's no point to get this guy either, because by the time we've got that done, it's going to be the end of the season anyway. That process, it's going to take ages to build that out, and this guy will no longer be under 21 anymore. So it only makes sense to get any players that are like this. We're saying, where is he? This player. Like, if he was 18 or something, we would get him, right? Because it's totally different to have this sort of attributes at that age. But even if they were a bit lower and we weren't thinking about the senior team, maybe we would get him still if he was 17 or 18 or something, because we're saying, we definitely do want to build the same tactic for our youth team as for our senior team. So we're just saying it's going to take a while to do that. It's going to take a while to do that, to get the right players for the senior team. It's going to take forever to get them for the youth team. Honestly, the best path to get him for the youth team for us is going to be through the academy trial graduates. It's going to be the easiest way. Right, we don't use wingbacks. Excuse me. Okay, back, sorry. So the MCs, same issue. There's these youth ones. I'm not sure would matter too much for us. This guy. So he could help with the aerial ability issues a bit, but he's a bit slow for the box to box. He's definitely not going to be that. And the other one we've got is the attacking midfielder one, and he's not that. We have two very specific. Let's have it back. We have two centre midfielders. So one of them we need tackling, work rate, speed, endurance. We need a whole bunch of stuff to get up and back, and then a whole bunch of ideal other stuff like decent, ideally long shots and whatever. This guy though is very focused. It's just long shots and passing and vision, first touch and bit mostly. So yeah, it's pretty easy to. It's going to be pretty easy to eliminate MCs, quite frankly. So no. He could potentially be the box-to-box one, quite frankly. He's just too slow. He's just not going to get up and back fast enough. And he's too old for us to want to start building out and high wages and whatever. Okay, so... I mean, not perfect, but we'll check what we've got. I think it's an upgrade for the box-to-box one. So, maybe. Don't think we want to go 31 years old just yet. But this guy, yeah, I think it's maybe. We'll check, but I think also like these are sort of enough maybe for now, and like it's like nothing is great, but it's like a lot of it is like is enough. Let's just check our guy. Yeah, so attacking is more. That's more. He's faster, way higher work rate. Like he's definitely just a big upgrade. I feel like we will get him because the thing is like we're saying there's this box to box and the guy is struggling to hit the match stats in a meaningful way. But then you look at the guy and it's like, well, you're asking him to be a box to box midfielder when he's only got 17 work rate and he's not. And he's pretty slow. Like not slow, but it's like you're asking. You know, he's not very fast when you're asking him to get up and back so much, and his bad work rate and like he can't really tackle and. You sort of ask, he doesn't really have the attributes at all to do what we're asking him to do. So I feel like we probably buy that guy, this other guy, because he is only 209,000. Yeah, the wages are quite a bit, but you only pay the wages as long as you've got him. So yeah, we could buy this guy, and you know, like because I feel like again this is a type of one we could go through many days before we find anything that's better than this. So for now, we can get him. We can keep advancing our tactical development and stuff. And if we get a replacement, you know, and also if we, the other good thing about this is just if it works really well or it doesn't work really well. Either way, we'll learn something. We'll learn about if he sort of does awesome. We'll know what kind of attributes leads to that, and if he doesn't really do that awesome, then we can start asking questions about, well, why? You know, what is it that he's lacking a bit here that's going to help? And the other thing is a 73 in aerial ability. Yeah, it's not the 80 or whatever the other guy had, but it's still pretty damn good. It's going to help us a bit on the set pieces as well. So we'll probably buy him as well. So that's two players. That's the goalkeeper and the MC. This MR... Right, he's can't finish, and he has a few shots. The one we have now, like inside the box stuff, not long range stuff. He's not brilliant in a lot of ways, but I do think he is an upgrade over what we got. I do think so. Let's have a look. So he's 65 crossing. He gets a lot of touches on the passes, so even the control matters quite a bit. Yeah, so does the dribbling. It's not great. The passing he does, and the vision does. It's not great. Obviously, he does come back to attack if you attempt a few tackles, so that's not great. Speed, strength. So yeah, but I think the guy in our team, for example, is just worse than that. Well, he's faster. Maybe the passing not as bad. Okay, so it's not immediately clear. He's certainly worse across the board, but not at everything that matters here. Way worse at tackling. I think the other guy had 50 dribbling. He's got 54. The other guy had 65 crossing or something. Both comparatively similarly bad at finishing. I think the other guy had like 60 something strength, 90 work rate. The other guy's better. Like that's all for sure. Yeah, the other guy's definitely better. I think the question is just, was it 73 speed versus what? 78. It's not insignificant because he ends up and back and running, and it's obvious his speed is important when we're watching him play. So we'll be sacrificing 5 points of speed and some points off dribbling, so he won't be able to dribble as fast either. But I think despite that, I think he's still better. I'll check the training options. How about that? Passing, marking, flair, determination. It's 3 more strength, 1 more. I think he is just better. We'll probably buy. How much is he? Okay, he's 725, so it's not that cheap. Yeah, alright, think on that one a bit. The other 2 we'll buy, but that one we're going to think on a bit. Just because if he was cheaper, we could just say, we'll get him, and we'll just get rid of him if it doesn't work out. But it wouldn't be if we bought him and got rid of him a couple of days later. It is going to cost us like 20. Yeah, it's going to cost us a couple. It's not going to be insignificant, basically. So 150, 225, 75, 3. It's going to cost us about £300,000 all in if we bought him and sold him straight away, and then extra per day that we hold him, like 10k per day on top of that. So, it is a pretty expensive thing to whimsically do for us. AMCs, we want one that they definitely attempt quite a few long shots, so I think we can disregard any player that doesn't have high long shots. He does. We need to create a lot of chances here as well. So I think as soon as they don't have high long shots, high passing, high vision, they can just be disregarded. We're not going to play AMRs, so they can just be disregarded. And then the strikers, I'm kind of happy with the 2 we got. We definitely need one for the youth team. This guy would just be a straight up improvement because he's quite similar, I feel. Let's have a look. Is this a youth? Yeah, so what is he? 58 finishing, 64. So he's pretty similar, to be honest. He's just better and way faster. So I think we're just going to grab that guy if he's not too expensive. We'll look at the others first. But yeah, I feel like this guy's just a straight up improvement. What is it? 63 finishing, 60 composure. Alright. What about this guy? Yeah, not really. Not really. Yeah, so I think we'll get that one. So we definitely have enough money to afford the players that we want anyway, so we don't have to worry about that. We'll just look at this guy's training options first. Yeah. What's his ceiling? 62. He's got a bit of growth there. +2 strength, +1 long shots, +1 movement. Yeah, I mean, how expensive is this? I think the difference with this guy, though, is that probably we'll play him every match. He'll get a bunch of points bunch of development points. We'll be able to improve him quite a bit by the time he's 22. And even worst case scenario, we'll improve him loads just because we're going to play him. And we'll be picking the training options and stuff. So I think with this guy is a little bit different because he's got a... there's not a huge below. You can even see the player below has got a much higher ceiling. But there's enough there. There's enough there basically that at this price and those wages, we're going to play him in all the matches. He's going to do really well. He's going to help our team win. The player he's displacing doesn't really matter anyway because it's not a player we're going to use longer term. And then we're probably going to be able to sell him for a profit of some description. Maybe not huge, but something. And the player may end up a useful striker for our first team, possibly. So I feel like that one you get on that basis that it's not really like, it's more, it's like having the player play for our first team at any point is like a small, like a possible bonus. But in the meantime, he'll just score a bucket load of goals for our youth team, help our youth team win, help them all get good ratings. And, we'll get our academy trial graduates. Maybe one will be a striker, but they're going to be 16. They're going to be, need a bit of time to get ready. So to sort of start in all the youth matches to be effective. So, and like I said, in the end, probably can just sell him for a profit or whatever, worst case scenario, even if it's not a huge one or some kind of profit. So I feel like that's not that risky a move. The money is tied up until then, which is kind of an issue, but, it's done now. And it's possible we'll find a much better youth striker at some point, and if that happens, then we'll be happy anyway that we found the better one. And if we end up selling him for a bit of a loss, then so be it. Right, so the other player, I think we're just going to buy this keeper, because honestly, it could be ages before we get a better one, and he's still got quite a big ceiling gap. He's got scope to get better as well. So this keeper, for example, we keep him 20 this season, next season, season after on the initial contract. It'll expire at the end of the season. He's 30. And you know what I mean? Like, even if we sell him then, like, he probably costs us money to hold, by the way, because it's going to be like about 2 million in wages. But yeah, like I said, I feel like it could be. I feel like this is the kind of keeper we need, basically. So I feel like we get him on that basis. And then the other player was this DMC. I think we talked ourselves out of... Oh, no, it wasn't. We did talk ourselves out of this one. I just think his timeline doesn't fit with us. It's a bit different to the keeper, because the keeper was 2 years younger. Like I was saying before, if this guy was 2 years younger, we'd get him. It fits with our timeline a bit more. That timeline basically being that if they're 27 when their contract expires with us... is the other guy 27, 28? Not sure. But if he was 27... we'd have him for 27, 28, 29. That's the type of timeline we'd want with this guy. So we'd be selling him probably at the end of his 29. When he's 29, we will have been promoted. We'll hopefully be promoted, let's say. We'll be, you know what I mean? We'd have him for this season in the training league, next season in the bottom division, season after the division above that. We'd have plenty of time to find an improvement. Like, I feel like that's the kind of timeline we want. And when they're ultimately sold in the end of 29, if we got them for a good price, we might... we would be able to sell them for an amount that hopefully doesn't lose us that much money when you take into account we'll sell them for more than we paid, and then that will also cover a chunk of the wages and whatnot. So, but anyway, it just doesn't fit the timeline. This guy here, it's a bit weird because it's like he's also 29. So why are we buying him? What's the difference? I think there is one difference. So one difference is that we already have a DMC that we're happy with. It's not insignificant. And this guy, he is we don't have this position. It could be quite, it may not be. I think that's just the big difference, to be honest. It's that we could, if we sell this guy here, he doesn't lose us that much if we don't have him for long. So, and this is true of this other guy. But the thing is, we already have a player that we're alright with. In the case of the other one, this one we don't. So let's get this guy. Right, now, have we got to the point yet where we have too many players? No. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to check our transfer bids. And we'll just sell any players. We haven't sold any yet, but we're just going to sell any that we don't intend to do anything with longer term. So I think for sure it's this guy. Like, just not doing anything, not playing at all. So let's just sell him. Now, we could have sold him for 75% of 26k. Maybe we should have just sold him already, but if they're cheap enough, we'll go through this in a sec. But for now, we've already waited and done it or whatever, so we'll just sell them that we've got the bids for. And I think this guy, we bought another DR, so he did play a few times, but we've since bought another one for the youth team, and so we just sell this one. And he was 58k. Is he currently selected in our youth team? Yeah, really? Okay, so I think now he's going to be our striker, and we can put the striker on the bench, basically. And now we can go to him, and we can sell him. And the next thing is this player. Now, I think he played... We have brought him off the bench a few times. He's kind of not good enough at all for what we want anyway, so we definitely don't want him around longer term. And I kind of feel like he is on the bench, but I kind of feel like ultimately we just don't need him there. We're just on the lookout for another one. So what we're going to do is we'll just sell him, because it's just definitely not part of any long-term plans, and he's not in the starting team either, and we're not typically bringing him on just to close out matches to get a result. That's what we do. We do is bringing him on when we're trying to win, but it's not the biggest priority at the moment in the training league. We're trying to get ready for when we are in the league, so we don't really mind if we don't win games at the moment anyway, and I just don't see him part of our plan. So let's sell him as well. And then if we just look at our team generally, because we've got to get we can go transfers, hopefully. Maybe not. It's not loading for us. But we sold those three players for about what is that? Maybe 100k, a bit less between all of them. Obviously, we could have just sold them all the other day for 25% less than that. It's only 25 grand. Does it really matter? Not sure, but that's just three. When you add that up over all of these players, I think the 25% of all those amounts does end up to probably, being, and the youth team as well, hundreds of thousands. I think it's worth it. So if we don't need the spots, we might as well get the extra money. I think the trade-off there is just, are we waiting too many days? We're paying £1,000 wages a day per player. So that's the question. It's like, I think, for example, maybe some of these players that are just not worth anything hardly, it isn't worth waiting to get the full amount. Because this guy, for example, is only 11k. So we're only talking about 8k. So we get 3 extra thousand for this player. So as soon as we wait 3 days to get the bid, which probably, it may but may not, and less likely we won't than will. So in the case of this guy, I think we just do want to sell. I think in the case of any of them that are worth nothing hardly, we don't want to wait around paying the wages, including the guy we just put on the bench. I think for the guy we put on the bench, we will keep him on the basis that he's on the bench. But okay, so he was the only other one on our senior team worth so little. So all the others are worth at least 30, this guy's 26. And I think this guy at the moment, he has played a little bit, has he? One off the bench. Okay. I think we had him on the bench another game, but this guy at the moment, we will have him on the bench. No, we won't, because we bought that youth striker. So this guy is not going to be playing at all, I don't think. We would have to have an injury to 2 strikers at the same time, which obviously can happen, but I think by the time that happens, we got a third one. We may have another striker at that point. So I think this guy we will just get rid of now as well. And then in our youth squad, I mean, at the end of the day, if we're desperate enough, and just at least for the training league, we just have a fun exercise in our senior team, just playing this guy anyway. So, right, so this guy can be added. And then I think the other question is just for the youth team, trying to wrap my head around this. So we could just sell who we're not using that's cheap, which is basically this guy. But if we do that, we won't be able to sell players that we do receive a bid for. Only 2, so maybe it's worth just holding him so that we have space to sell the other players that we receive a bid for until we buy other players. So just have a couple of, just in case we get a couple bids for players, we can sell them. It's probably worth doing that. I think in regards to our youth tactic, we don't really care. Yeah, we won all those matches, but we don't really care. We want to move it towards the senior tactic. So for now, when we get the bids, I think we're just going to sell the players. It's a bit annoying with these fullbacks that we bought them, to be honest, but I don't know. Like for now, we'll just see. We're not too. It's going to take. We need to get our senior team all set up and established. Our youth team, honestly, I think it's better just conceptually that we will bring through the graduates, because if we want to be acquiring the players, like for a proper setup, we want to be acquiring the players when they're 16, because then they'll have really, really long, like 12 season contracts. So we get them when they're 16. We get to pick all the training options to develop them into the type of players we want. We get to play, and we set the youth team up with the same system as the senior team. And then the players just, it's like a seamless transition. Like you just have a constant flow of the exact players you need coming through to your senior team that can do a job. And maybe they're only good enough to be the backups for those positions, or maybe they're good enough to be starters or whatever. But you've just got this constant flow of players, which are the exact type of players you need. And then you supplement that with the occasional purchase from the player auctions. That's the big buy of exactly what you need. So going forward, like longer term in higher divisions, that's what we're moving towards. For now, we're using the scouting pool, but as we move forwards, we'll check it obviously, and we may pick the odd thing up there that's useful to us, but it's unlikely to be a source of players for us much farther down the track. So that's why again with the youth team, I'm just saying basically I don't really want to. I'd rather build this up through the scouting pool. So for now, we're just leaving it to be whatever, and we're just checking the scouting pool each day. And if we happen to find a young player that we're interested in, we'll just buy him, and we'll just basically make whatever tactic makes some kind of sense with whatever players we happen to have at the current point in time. That's probably how we're going to play it out this season, at least until we get the very first batch of graduates, and then we will see from that point. So the next thing on our daily loop of activities is going to be checking the training options. So it's pretty easy now. We did the big initial batch, but now we've basically just got the maybe some for the players we just bought combined with some of the players in our team. So I think we bought what the who did we buy? The keeper, this central midfielder, and this striker. So we bought 3 players, 1, 2, 3, and we've got 4 options roll around, 4 players in our team. So let's pick them. So with the striker, we're going to go with this one. I just feel like basically we're saying 1 extra point in strength and 1 extra point in long shots versus 2 in passing. Like in our tactic, the main, our strikers are there to score goals, so that little bit of long shots mostly, but is a bit more valuable than a point in passing, let's say. And then the question is strength or passing. 1 in strength or passing, I think it's debatable, but I think again, if the primary focus is just scoring goals, then the strength is more useful as well. This is he the new box-to-box midfielder? Yeah. So the new box-to-box midfielder, we're going to grab this. We should have checked those training options first, to be honest, but before we bought him, for point of reference. I think this was the right back that we bought the other day, actually. So we bought him and then yesterday, but then didn't pick the training option. So the keeper that we just bought now, 3 extra shot stopping at the expense of 2 aerial ability and 1 extra distributor. I think we're going this path. I know we said we wanted the extra aerial ability for that, but at the end of the day, the shot stopping is more important here. The left back that we bought the other day. So what is it? This is higher, but 3 extra determination higher. I think 1 tackling nearly threw me off. So we're saying 1 in tackling versus 1 in speed, all that extra endurance. I think we're going this side, but I'm not 100% sure because he's going to be playing all the matches. So that extra determination gets extra points, which will lead to better options next season. But otherwise, you were saying an extra point of flair, not that big a deal. 1 extra point of speed matters. 4 extra endurance matters. Extra agility matters a bit. Yeah, is close. You could convince me the other side here. I'm going to go with this one. But it's close. Let me just quickly check the player. So that extra endurance should mean that he doesn't need to get subbed off. He's probably already fine, but that should help get him up to that barrier. His determination's super low anyway. Obviously, I don't know. That doesn't mean you wouldn't want it to be higher. I'm just pointing it out. I think he's not going to develop particularly awesome anyway because of that. I'll go with that. I'm not 100% sure. If we want to, thing is with all these decisions, like at the end of the day, like there's only so much time you can dwell over every single individual decision. There's so many of them, so like sometimes you just got to say, I don't know, it could be either one. Just pick one, and if you're wrong, you're wrong. Like sometimes you've got to have that attitude, otherwise it'll just take too long to do all this stuff. So, and you have the other thing with that player as well. It's like a left back that we're not even using left backs. You know, it's like it's more worth mulling over decisions that matter more effectively as well. So if that was a key player for us, we definitely would mull it over and make sure we made the right decision. But it isn't. Yeah, and then in this one, we go here. And this player, interestingly, this may be the right option for no other reason, just because it allows them to play a position that is actually in our youth tactic at the moment. Honestly, I think that's just the pick it. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it makes sense with the attributes, but that alone, we're not keeping this player longer term anyway, and at least it gives us some flexibility with the youth team. That extra position does going forwards. So there's our training options, and the other thing for the day is the academy trialists. So the dribbling might have been revealed for this guy. It was 33. We're alright to keep him anyway. The thing is, we're not using fullbacks, but the thing is, this guy's got so great attributes that at the moment we'd have to. Again, we're saying with the youth team, we want to build towards a tactic and do it. Yes, all that. But I think with this guy in particular, like sometimes you do just have to factor in if they're just totally awesome and you maybe just want to get them through on the trials and just bring them off the bench occasionally and then just sell them afterwards, because if you could develop them up a bit, that's one thing. But probably for us, we're not too bothered with doing that. The main thing really is just if he's got totally awesome attributes for a fullback, he probably also has good attributes for what we need for one of our central defender sort of roles in our team. So I think we just need to view him through the lens of those central defender roles. Unfortunately, that means that probably the aerial ability matters quite a bit, and that's not being revealed soon. But yeah, so it's just a factor. Like now, all of a sudden, that it's like if we want this guy, we also have to imagine him through the lens of being one of the roles in our team. That could also, at the moment at least, this could be one of the 3 different central defending roles, and we've got some flexibility there for different shortages that they could have and still be useful. Right now, with how he looks, it could be any of them. And the other one is the destroyer role. He could potentially end up being that. And at the moment, he could also be that. So I think at the moment, he can fill 4 different roles for our team. Yes, we need to add a position, but I think even though we won't end up using a right back, it's still worth holding onto that guy in the trial at the moment. Now we know for an MR exactly what we need. And right now, the crossing isn't great, and the tackling isn't great, and he gets back. So he's probably... we don't necessarily... Obviously, these are horrible value if this is what they are in the end, but we could... The thing is, we would get, 5, 6 seasons, 7 seasons of development before he'd be in the senior team. If we wanted to prioritise getting the tackling and all the crossing up, there's potentially big scope to get those up. Not to high levels, but to, decent levels. So it's not a total deal breaker, because they aren't the key things. They're just... But yeah, I think at the moment we're probably just waiting for the speed, because I think we probably would just let him go, to be honest, because too many things are low. But it needs too much to go right at this point. But the one reason to hold on a little bit longer might just be because the speed is next. And if that comes out at 60 or 59 or whatever, then maybe that inspires us to persevere a bit to look at some more. And if it's sort of like, 40, 30, 25, whatever, we just get rid of him. That's why these letters are useful. Next guy. We're finding out the movement next. What do we find out? The strength. So, a decent 46 at a centre half. We're just waiting on this guy, I think, to find out what the tackling is, and then the speed. Next guy, dribbling, centre half, 8. Not that big a deal. Probably eliminates him from the ball playing defender role. This guy was just... we thought he would end up being generically good at many things, but now we actually... A lot has changed between yesterday and today. We now have a very clear idea about our tactical path going forwards. So, we need this guy to be... something that he's not, basically, because we need players that are very now this generic all-around guy. I'm not sure that maybe there's a box-to-box midfielder. I think that's what it's looking at. But if it is him, then things already aren't probably quite good enough. Like, I don't think you want 8 dribbling on the box-to-box midfielder. Doesn't need to be high, but that's just too low. Then I also think that the one of the probably then out of all of these attributes, the one that we would then care about the most is probably the passing, and that's the lowest attribute out of the rest. So probably not holding this guy, especially when we find out what do we actually care to find out next. To be honest, that's going to help sway anything here. Not even sure at this point. Yeah, I just don't see us holding this guy in the end, no matter, even if a lot of these are all even if nothing else is, if everything else is even in the 40s, maybe we keep him, but that's just so incredibly unlikely, basically. So we're probably looking to get another guy in instead of him, and this guy found the determination out. Maybe that's only 11, so that's not great. Now, for our MCs, we want 2 different things. We need the box-to-box guy. The dribbling is only 10. It's not great. It doesn't entirely eliminate him. He's not entirely eliminated from the box-to-box role. And the other one we want is just really high long shots, high passing and vision. So he's potentially in... We're just going to... It doesn't look good, but... he is in the running maybe for both of the roles that we actually need. So, I mean, I think it's bad with the low determination, though. It's going to mean we invest a lot of effort to develop him up, and he just wouldn't develop up that great. So it's not perfect. So I think we... and obviously he's got other stuff that's low. So I think this guy we definitely probably just going to want to find someone else for. And this guy, yeah, we just need to bear in mind that we're happy to hang on a bit and see what comes out. I think in particular, just need to, waiting for the passing really at this point. But yeah, we were alright to move on from him right now if there's another player we're happy with the look of. And this guy, like, he's just for our one role. So for our one role, we just want super high long shots, super high passing, super high vision. That's what we care about. And his long shots isn't super high. So I think already we're just saying, yeah, we don't need that guy. So for strikers, just not. I can explain why, but effectively it's just right now we're hoping to get world class players, and this guy, it doesn't really matter how all this other stuff unfolds. He won't be world class just because he's only got 45 finishing. Like, he's only got, you know what I mean? Like, he's not like lightning fast. He's all right. 40's all right, but that's all right if it's like a clinical finisher, but he's not going to be that either. And and we're only really interested. And the other thing as well that's going to pretty rapidly eliminate strikers for us is that we don't want build-up play strikers. We want goal scoring. We're only running one, and he's only there to score goals. Primarily there to score goals. So if he can't do that function well, we're not going to hang on to them at this stage. 5 shot stopping. Not knowing tackling or speed anytime soon. Not knowing finishing long shots anytime soon. Composure not being great. Speed okay, but again, he'd have to be a world-class finisher. We'd be looking for a proper poacher if they're not fast. We want a fast, alright, can score okay, I think, or a proper world-class finisher, like really, really high finishing and composure, and maybe even long shots. So, and he's not either of those roles, so... too long to find the shot stopping out. Can't tackle. Not playing fullbacks. One problem. He does have 60 marking. We will be converting him. If we keep him, it's going to be either as a... So straight away we need to burn up a position, an additional position on him. He's either going to be the DMC, which is horrible passing. He's not going to be that. So otherwise he's going to be one of our DC roles. He's going to be the one that steps up to make all the tackles. He could potentially be that. Or he's going to be the one that we want to be distributing the ball as cover. He can't pass, so he's not that. We want the one that's on the LC at the moment, which we want to be decent at tackling, which he could be. And we'll find that out next. We want him to be fast. We won't find that out for ages. We want him to be good in the air, which he isn't. So I'd say he's eliminated out of 2 of the 3 roles already. And the other one, even though he maybe end up okay with it, he may end up okay as our other role. It's just not an investment for us that makes sense to get a player that's out of position to go for another position that may be okay in one position in our team. This guy can't pass, the same problem. He can't be the cover one. The tackling one, he potentially could be. And the intercepting, he's fast enough for us to be alright with his speed for the LC one. We need high aerial ability and good enough tackling. The thing is, though, I'm still irrespective, though, like that particular defender still attempts quite a few passes in each game, so the passing is still a problem. So I'm inclined to think we're not gonna bother thinking about this guy either. Shot stopping next. Handling not great, but because the shot stopping's next, maybe. I think from all the players so far, he's the only one we haven't basically eliminated, so we'll go with him. He's a maybe. This guy, Great tackling, awesome. Yeah, I think we're okay with this. It just so we're happy with the tackling. Positioning not entirely great at all, obviously, but it wouldn't entirely eliminate him from any of our 3 defending roles. The 30 composure is also not particularly great because it helps to have higher composure, especially for the last stitch tackles and stuff in the box. So it's not particularly great. But okay, I mean, the thing is, I guess, what are we finding out next? How long till we get beyond okay? So it's vision, it helps a little bit. Crossing, no, not at all. Dribbling, not particularly. Aerial ability, yes. Determination, yes. Agility, not much. No. H, no. So it's, and then ultimately in the end, like, the speed is going to matter to some degree. We could roll with it regardless, but the thing is, we're not finding that out for ages. We're not finding the marking out. So unfortunately, like, because both the marking and the speed and the passing, none of that's here anytime soon. It looks alright, but it's just going to be too long till we find out if he's okay. So I think we're probably not going to keep this guy for now. I mean, which probably means forever because we probably don't see him again. This guy, decent enough movement, decent enough flair. Yeah, whatever. It's not super low determination. We'll deal with it. So there's nothing here where you're like, oh, he's going to be bad. But there's nothing in here that says, oh, he's going to be good. So the movement, okay. Passing, speed is coming up. But even if that ends up as 60, the finishing, both the finishing and the long shots are miles and miles away. Now, what happens if you find out what the passing is good, the composure, let's say that's, well, 60, and the speed, let's just say passing 60, composure 60, speed 60. Not unlikely, but even if that happens, what are you doing then? Well, you're waiting. Aerial ability, okay, well, let's say that's 60 as well. Then what are you doing? And then you're waiting for positioning, vision, tackling, dribbling, find out more at that point. You've got a very long wait. Basically, at the end of the day, we only want a striker really that can score, so we can be waiting right until the very end to find out finishing, and it's going to suck. So, it's one of those ones where you can have high hopes for this and you could be very disappointed on the very final day. So I don't think we're going to hold the slot up for him. This guy, average attribute, revealed attribute, 41. That's really high. So everything, handling super high, aerial ability, okay, agility, speed, okay. So I mean, the thing is with this guy, it's like the 41's high here. We got to bear that in mind, and it is a keeper. Like, so there is a lot more of all the. We were somewhat flexible with that. With that, the main one we're going to want probably is say high shot stopping, but not low shot stopping. Let's say it's a while to find that out. It is a while. Whilst we're waiting that good while, we find out one-on-ones. Now, of all the things our tactic gives up, one-on-ones is not one of the things that matters too much, because we've just got basically a block of defenders right in front of the keeper. So the one-on-ones is the one thing that typically isn't given up. The durability, sure, a bit. Determination, yes. Composure, yeah, okay, somewhat for us. The natural fitness, not so much. So we're really waiting through quite a few days here to find out. Like, if we find the low determination, we probably just dismiss him at that point, and then from that point, if it's high, we'd be waiting all the way through until shot stopping. Now, if we get to that point and it comes out high, we probably know if we are right to end up keeping him through the end or not. So yeah, what are we waiting? 3 to 5 days to maybe get rid of him, and then once we've waited that, another 3 to 5 days on top of that to almost make a final decision. So even though the shot stopping is some way off, we do have a break point where we may just get rid of him if it's low. I think it's an option to wait for this guy, is what I'm saying. DC, I think the tackling just not low enough to want to go through the process. The striker, maybe. The finishing, we will find out at that point. We could just get rid of him if it's... Now, the thing is, he's not going to be sort of like lightning fast, but he would be fast enough just for our poacher. Absolutely, we'd be alright with that. But then he's also, he's not going to be fantastic in the air either. So I guess at that point, all we're saying is we just would be 1-1. He would need to be like a world-class finisher. That's the thing, which would mean, and his long shots is awesome. So all we just need is a similar value in finishing and composure. That's what we want, and then we would also want high movement. But the issue is, again, that both the composure and the movement are not even on the radar here. Now, if we wait for the finishing and then it ends up as 58, can we go through the rest of a process here and then eventually find out, and the determination's not even here, and eventually find out that the composure and or determination and or movement are bad, and we'll be right with keeping this guy? And I mean, maybe, unlikely. I think this is just one of those ones, like if the speed, for example, was 58 as well, then we would be alright for him just to be the fast version, and then the finishing and or composure and or movement wouldn't all have to be world class. They could just be pretty good, and we'd be right with him. So I think this is one where if the speed was higher, we would roll with it because we wouldn't need him to end up being the great finisher. But now, if we're going for this version, we need a great finisher. Another variation of this is if he had like 58 aerial ability, then maybe he doesn't need to be that narrow poacher, just finisher type player. He could also contest the headers and stuff like that. But because we know that he's not going to be the target man. We know he's not going to be some lightning fast, pacey striker. So for as far as our tactic is concerned, all we're caring about is the goal scoring ability, and we won't find out an answer to that question until very late in the process. So you're probably not going to hold him. And this player, again, not the position we're holding for the purposes of what we would want to find out. What could he be? Various roles, but it's, I don't think it just makes sense. He's already weak in the air, and we've got to wait. We find out the tackling, sure, but then we've got to wait ages for the speed. Determination, again, it's not even on the radar. Marking, not even on the radar for us, and it's very likely to be a defensive role. So those things really matter. And then this guy, just not. If we're going to hold on a keeper, it's going to be in that other one, basically. So not even worth discussing that. So I think at this point we're saying yes to this keeper. And I think we just basically dismissed everybody else. Is that right? I think so. Oh no, this center. I think this center half maybe. No. So I think it's just that after all of that, it was just that keeper. Maybe this keeper. Oh, there was one that had a break point. Was that the keeper? Yeah, that was the keeper that had that break point. Okay, that made sense. And yeah, so it's just that keeper. So for now, I think the one that we are the most, this guy will hold, find out the speed for now. That's a good plan. And this guy, we were all right to give up. I don't think he will end up fitting into anything. And this guy, ideally, would have had higher long shots. So, but for now, we're going to put the keeper in instead of this guy. And whilst there was, we're just going to quickly run back through because there was a couple here that were closer than this guy. Not this guy. This guy, who we're pretty sure we're just not going to end up rolling with here. So there was this striker somewhere. Was it this one? No, was it this one? Maybe. Yeah, so it was this striker here where we're kind of saying like unlikely, but and unfortunately if we wait a day, like the thing is, even when we wait tomorrow, in all likelihood we're going to find one player that we're more happy to move with. So I think the player that we keep today, when we're going back through, it needs to be one where the very next reveal is potentially very, very helpful. That's the main requirement. So even though, yeah, the guy's probably not going to work out, at the very least, the imminent next reveal is gonna help. So right now, like this player, I can see that like he's not instantly dismissed. Like he could be fast. He you know about you're gonna wait ages for that. But at least the very next reveal tells us a bit. Not great, to be honest, for the purposes of this. Again, we've got to find out where the age is for the marking and this, but at least the next reveal is vision. Not, again, the most super useful one, but at least it tells us if he can be the that ball playing cover a bit. Dismisses him from one of the 3 roles that we have him up for, so maybe he's the one. This is probably the better one, to be honest, because the next reveal is the most important attribute. So at the moment, we'll put that keeper in. I think we're not going to find anything more important than that. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove this guy, and we're going to bring in the keeper. So even though we're pretty sure we won't, like, there's a lot of reasons. Like, it doesn't look that particularly brilliant, but this might come up as 60, and all of a sudden, it's just very different feel about this keeper if that happens. And we potentially only have to wait one day to find that out. So that's why we're going with this guy. So we sorted our trialists out for the day. So it's been over an hour, but we finally managed to go through our trialists and our scouting pool and our training and a few training options for the day and respond to our transfer bids. So that's sort of like what we have to go through every single day here. So I hope this sort of helps that process. Obviously, if I don't have to narrate all of these thoughts, it's quicker for me to do this. But it still does take, a chunk of time. The thing is, it's still going to take 15 to 30 minutes to do this. So I hope this helps, and we'll see you in the next video.